What happens when a quiet, small-town girl finds herself at the center of one of the world's most polarizing political families? Melania Trump's journey is nothing short of extraordinary, but it's also steeped in complexity, controversy, and undeniable tragedy. From her humble beginnings in the industrial town of Sevnica, Slovenia, to the opulent halls of the White House, Melania's life has been a study in contrasts, grace under pressure, stoic silence in the face of relentless criticism, and an unshakable loyalty to a man who often dominates her narrative. But who is Melania Trump beyond the glamour and headlines? What drove her to leave her small-town roots behind and step into the world's harshest spotlight? And perhaps the most intriguing question of all, how does she reconcile the life she chose with the sacrifices it demands? This is the story of Melania Trump, the woman behind the headlines, and the tragedy that is often obscured by her enigmatic silence. Born in a small industrial town in Yugoslavia in 1970, Melania Trump grew up surrounded by factory smoke, rigid communist ideals, and the lingering echoes of Josip Broz Tito's leadership. Her hometown of Sevnica was modest, a far cry from the lavish settings she would later inhabit. Life in her 5-story apartment block was simple, almost stifling. Her father, Victor, was a traveling car salesman and a staunch member of the League of Communists, while her mother, Amalia, worked tirelessly at a state-owned textile factory, stitching together a living for the family. For young Melania, this environment was both a source of stability and a cage. Even as a child, Melania stood out. Friends and neighbors recall her as polite, disciplined, and strikingly ambitious. While other children were content with the rhythm of small-town life, she seemed to carry a quiet determination. Dreams of a bigger, brighter world beyond Sevnica filled her mind. Her mother, with her love for fashion, often made clothes for Melania and her sister, sparking a passion in the young girl that would later define her career. She wasn't just dreaming of escape, she was meticulously planning it. In the early 1980s, the socio-political landscape in Yugoslavia began to shift. Tito's death in 1980 marked the start of an unraveling. For Melania's family, survival meant adherence to the party line, but for her, it meant looking beyond the confines of her small town. Education became her pathway. After high school, she enrolled in the University of Ljubljana to study design and architecture, though she left before completing her degree. By then, her focus had shifted to something more glamorous: modeling. Melania's first taste of the modeling world came through a scout who spotted her at 16. Tall, poised, and effortlessly elegant, she was a natural fit for the runway. This new opportunity was her ticket out. She began participating in local fashion shows, and soon her photographs were making rounds in Slovenian magazines. Her early work was humble but significant. Each photo shoot brought her closer to the future she envisioned. By the early 1990s, Melania had reinvented herself. She dropped the hard-to-pronounce Melania Knaus in favor of the more internationally palatable Melania Knaus. The name change was more than a rebranding. It was a declaration of intent. Melania wasn't just leaving Sevnica, she was leaving behind the limitations of her past. The move to Milan and Paris marked a turning point. In these fashion capitals, she faced fierce competition, but persevered. The early days were grueling. Melania lived in modest accommodations, working long hours and often facing rejection. But she wasn't deterred. With each casting call, she refined her craft, building a reputation for professionalism and an unwavering work ethic. However, breaking into the modeling industry as a foreigner came with its challenges. Accents were scrutinized, appearances dissected, and opportunities often went to those with connections or privileged backgrounds. Melania had none of that. What she did have was resilience. She learned quickly and adapted even faster, using her striking features and disciplined demeanor to carve a niche for herself. By 1996, Melania had set her sights on the United States. New York City, with its towering skyscrapers and frenetic energy, was her next destination. The city was intimidating, but for Melania, it was a chance to reinvent herself once again. Modeling agencies in Manhattan took note of her European flair, and she began landing jobs that introduced her to a more glamorous lifestyle. It was during these formative years in New York that Melania's world began to shift in ways she couldn't have anticipated. In 1998, at a party in the city's bustling social scene, she met Donald Trump. The encounter was a pivotal moment, marking the beginning of a relationship that would elevate her to international prominence. At first glance, they seemed an unlikely pair. She, the reserved and disciplined model, he, the brash and flamboyant real estate tycoon. Yet there was a connection. Donald was instantly captivated by Melania's poise and beauty. Despite their age difference and contrasting personalities, he pursued her with a determination that mirrored her own ambition. Their relationship quickly became the subject of media fascination, with paparazzi capturing their every move. For Melania, the attention was a double-edged sword. On one hand, it opened doors to a world of wealth and influence. On the other, it brought scrutiny she had never faced before. The late 1990s were a whirlwind for Melania. She balanced her burgeoning career with the challenges of navigating a high-profile relationship. The fashion world still demanded her focus, but her connection to Donald began to overshadow her professional achievements. For better or worse, Melania's identity was becoming intertwined with his. As the new millennium approached, Melania faced a decision that would define her future. Would she continue to pursue her dreams independently, or would she step into Donald Trump's larger-than-life world? By the early 2000s, it was clear she had chosen the latter. Their engagement in 2004 solidified her role not just as his partner, but as a central figure in his growing empire. This chapter of Melania's life was marked by transformation. She had left Sevnica far behind, trading factory smoke for gilded skyscrapers. But with this transformation came complexity. Her dreams had led her to the top, but they also tied her to a man whose ambitions often eclipsed her own. For Melania, the question wasn't just about where she was, it was about who she was becoming. The year 2005 marked a turning point in Melania's life. Her wedding to Donald Trump was nothing short of a spectacle, reflecting the grandeur and opulence that had come to define his persona. Held at the Episcopal Church of Bethesda by the Sea in Palm Beach, Florida, and followed by a lavish reception at Mar-a-Lago, the event was attended by high-profile figures, including Hillary and Bill Clinton. For Melania, it was a moment of celebration, but also a harbinger of the challenges that would come with being Mrs. Trump. Her new role brought an undeniable shift in her identity. No longer just a model, she was now a Trump, a name synonymous with wealth, power, and increasingly, controversy. Melania's life transformed almost overnight. Gone were the days of relative anonymity. In their place came public appearances, high-stakes events, and the relentless gaze of the media. Initially, Melania seemed to embrace her new status. She continued to build her brand as a socialite, occasionally dabbling in modeling projects, including a now-famous cover shoot for Vogue. But even as she basked in the spotlight, there were whispers of discontent. Friends and acquaintances noted her reserved demeanor, a stark contrast to Donald's bombastic personality. Behind the scenes, it was clear that the dynamics of their relationship were far from conventional. The birth of Baron William Trump in 2006 added another layer to Melania's life. As a new mother, she was reportedly hands-on, insisting on a level of involvement that surprised even close family members. Yet the joy of motherhood was tinged with strain. Donald's infamous comments about her postpartum figure sparked widespread outrage when they surfaced years later. In a 2006 interview with Howard Stern, Donald casually remarked that Melania had promised to return to her pre-pregnancy shape within weeks. While he later claimed the statement was a joke, insiders suggested otherwise. Melania, they said, felt the weight of the expectations placed upon her, both as Donald's wife and as a public figure. By the late 2000s, Melania had settled into her role as the elegant, composed partner to one of New York's most divisive figures. But as Donald's ambitions grew, so too did the scrutiny. His forays into television with The Apprentice further elevated their family's profile, cementing Donald's reputation as a shrewd businessman, and for many, a polarizing personality. Through it all, Melania maintained a careful balance, appearing supportive yet rarely engaging in the public theatrics that surrounded her husband. Her stoicism became a defining trait, but it also fueled speculation. Was she happy? Did she regret the compromises she had made? Those close to her offered mixed answers. Some described her as fiercely loyal to Donald, while others suggested that she harbored quiet resentment. Publicly, Melania was the picture of grace, but privately, it was clear she was navigating an increasingly complicated reality. The 2010s brought new challenges and opportunities for the Trump family. As Donald began exploring a potential run for the presidency, Melania's role shifted once again. Initially, she was reluctant to support his political ambitions, reportedly expressing concerns about the intense scrutiny that would come with a campaign. But Donald's determination eventually won out, and by 2015 the Trumps were firmly entrenched in the world of American politics. Melania's position during the campaign was unique. Unlike traditional political spouses, she often took a back seat, making limited public appearances and delivering carefully curated speeches. This low-profile approach was both strategic and reflective of her personality. But it also drew criticism. Some saw her as disinterested or disengaged, while others viewed her as a refreshing contrast to Donald's fiery rhetoric. The 2016 Republican National Convention became a pivotal moment for Melania. Her speech, intended to humanize Donald and showcase her personal story, was overshadowed by accusations of plagiarism. Passages from her address bore a striking resemblance to Michelle Obama's 2008 DNC speech, sparking a media firestorm. For Melania, the incident was humiliating. Critics were quick to pounce, questioning her authenticity and ridiculing her for the blunder. Despite the controversy, Melania pressed on. As Donald's campaign gained momentum, she found herself thrust further into the spotlight. Her every move, from her wardrobe choices to her expressions during rallies, was dissected and analyzed. While Donald thrived on the chaos, Melania often appeared detached, her enigmatic smile a stark contrast to the energy of the crowds. Yet, even as she faced criticism, there were moments when her quiet resilience shone through. The campaign trail was grueling, and by the time Donald was declared the winner in November 2016, Melania seemed both relieved and apprehensive. Becoming First Lady of the United States was a role she had never envisioned for herself. In fact, sources close to her revealed that she had been deeply uncomfortable with the idea of moving into the White House, preferring the privacy of Trump Tower. Her decision to remain in New York with Barron during the first months of Donald's presidency only fueled speculation about the state of their marriage. When Melania finally moved to Washington, D.C. in mid-2017, she approached her new role with characteristic caution. Unlike her predecessors, she kept a relatively low profile, focusing on select initiatives like her Be Best campaign, which aimed to combat cyberbullying and promote well-being among children. However, the campaign's launch was marred by criticism, with many pointing out the irony of her anti-bullying message given Donald's often combative behavior on social media. Through it all, Melania remained an enigma. Her public appearances were poised and polished, but they offered little insight into her true thoughts or feelings. Was she a reluctant participant in Donald's political journey, or was she quietly supportive of his vision? The answers remained elusive, further fueling the fascination surrounding her. As 2018 approached, Melania faced a new set of challenges. Rumors of infidelity, mounting public criticism, and the pressures of being First Lady began to take their toll. Yet, true to form, she carried on with quiet determination, her stoic demeanor concealing the turmoil beneath the surface. By the time Melania Trump officially took on the role of First Lady in mid-2017, the spotlight had grown more intense than ever. Moving into the White House marked a significant shift for someone who had once shunned the public eye. For Melania, the adjustment was anything but smooth. The political theater that surrounded Donald's presidency amplified every aspect of her life, turning even the smallest gesture into a subject of debate. One of her first major public initiatives as First Lady was the Be Best campaign. Designed to combat cyberbullying, promote kindness, and encourage well-being among children, it was intended as a signature project that reflected her values. However, the campaign quickly drew criticism. Skeptics were quick to point out the irony of her message, given Donald's habit of using social media as a platform for aggressive and often inflammatory rhetoric. Memes and headlines questioned how Melania could advocate for online civility while her husband seemingly disregarded it. The backlash was relentless, but Melania maintained her composure, refusing to publicly address the contradictions. Her reserved approach to the role was often misinterpreted. While some saw her quiet demeanor as disinterest, Others viewed it as a deliberate strategy to avoid unnecessary controversy. Melania's actions were measured and calculated, a stark contrast to Donald's bombastic style. She chose her battles carefully, focusing on initiatives that aligned with her values while sidestepping the more contentious aspects of the administration. Yet, controversies found her nonetheless. One of the most infamous moments of her tenure came in 2018 during a visit to a detention center housing migrant children. Melania's choice of outerwear, a jacket emblazoned with the words, "I really don't care, do you?" sparked outrage. Critics labeled the jacket insensitive and tone-deaf, particularly given the emotional context of the visit. While her team insisted it was just a jacket, the message resonated with a public already skeptical of her sincerity. The incident further complicated Melania's image. Was she a victim of unfortunate optics or a deliberate provocateur? The truth, as with much of her life, remained ambiguous. Melania herself rarely offered explanations, leaving the world to interpret her actions as they saw fit. For those who supported her, she was an elegant and misunderstood figure navigating impossible circumstances. For her detractors, she was complicit in the administration's controversies. Adding to the strain were persistent rumors of Donald's infidelity. Allegations involving adult film actress Stormy Daniels and former Playboy model Karen McDougal loomed over the presidency, casting a shadow on their marriage. Though Melania rarely addressed these accusations publicly, insiders noted the tension it caused within the White House. Public appearances between the couple often seemed distant, with observers analyzing their body language for signs of discord. Despite the personal and public challenges, Melania displayed remarkable resilience. Her role as a mother to Barron Trump remained a constant source of stability. She often described her relationship with her son as her top priority, focusing on his well-being amid the chaos of the presidency. In many ways, her dedication to Barron offered a glimpse into her private world, one that revolved around family rather than politics. But even her maternal instincts were not immune to criticism. In 2018, as part of her Be Best campaign, Melania visited schools to promote child wellness. While her efforts were well received in some circles, detractors accused her of doing too little, too late, particularly given the administration's controversial policies on family separation at the U.S.-Mexico border. The juxtaposition between her messaging and the administration's actions created a narrative of hypocrisy that was difficult to shake. Throughout these turbulent years, Melania's health became a topic of speculation. In May 2018, she underwent a kidney embolization procedure at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. The official statement described it as a benign condition requiring minimal recovery, but her extended absence from the public eye fueled rumors. Was there more to the story than what was being disclosed? Speculation ranged from complications in her recovery to broader issues with her overall well-being. Her re-emergence weeks later did little to quell the questions. While she appeared composed and healthy, her limited engagements and reserved demeanor only added to the mystique surrounding her. Melania's health scare became yet another layer in the complex narrative of her life as First Lady, a reminder that even in her most vulnerable moments she remained an enigma. As the years progressed, the pressures of Donald's presidency took their toll on the entire Trump family, but Melania seemed particularly affected. Insiders described a growing sense of isolation. Her relationship with Donald, already strained, was reportedly further complicated by his demanding schedule and controversial leadership style. While she continued to support him publicly, there were whispers of private disagreements and tension. Despite the challenges, Melania managed to carve out a unique space for herself within the Trump administration. She remained a symbol of poise and elegance, even as she weathered relentless criticism. Her approach to the role of First Lady was unorthodox, but it reflected her individuality. Unlike her predecessors, she did not seek to reinvent the position. Instead, she adapted it to suit her personality and circumstances. By the end of Donald's presidency in January 2021, Melania's tenure as First Lady was widely regarded as one of the most scrutinized in modern history. From her fashion choices to her public statements, every aspect of her life had been dissected and debated. Yet through it all, she maintained a sense of dignity that resonated with her supporters. As the Trumps prepared to leave the White House, Melania's focus shifted. The years of public scrutiny had taken their toll, and she appeared eager to return to a quieter, more private life. But even as she stepped away from the political stage, the legacy of her time as First Lady continued to spark discussion. Was she a reluctant participant in Donald's presidency, or was she quietly complicit in its controversies? The answers remained as elusive as the woman herself. When Melania Trump left the White House in January 2021, the world's eyes were still firmly fixed on her. For some, her departure symbolized the end of a turbulent chapter in American politics. For others, it marked the beginning of a quieter, more enigmatic phase in her life. Stepping back from the public eye offered her a reprieve from the relentless scrutiny she had endured during her years as First Lady. But the challenges she faced were far from over. Back in Florida, Melania retreated to the familiar luxury of Mar-a-Lago, the Trump family's private estate. The move was an opportunity to regain a semblance of normalcy, but it also signified her continued association with Donald's polarizing legacy. Public appearances became infrequent, and her focus shifted almost entirely to her family, particularly her son Barron. Friends and insiders noted her dedication to shielding him from the chaos that surrounded their family, a commitment that had defined her role as a mother throughout the years. Yet, even in the relative quiet of post-presidency life, Melania's name remained in the headlines. Rumors of discord between her and Donald persisted, with reports suggesting that the couple spent much of their time apart, even while living under the same roof. Speculation about their marriage had been a constant throughout Donald's presidency, fueled by moments of visible tension during public events. Post-presidency, those whispers grew louder. Was their relationship simply a partnership of convenience, or did it reflect a deeper, more complex bond? Melania, true to form, offered no comment, leaving the world to interpret her silence. For Melania, the transition to life outside the White House also meant facing the enduring consequences of her time in the public eye. The controversies that had defined her tenure as First Lady, her "I really don't care" jacket, the plagiarism scandal, the infidelity rumors, remained points of contention in the court of public opinion. Critics questioned her complicity in Donald's actions, while supporters praised her resilience in the face of unprecedented challenges. The polarized views underscored the complexity of her public image, one that defied easy categorization. One of the most profound personal losses she faced during this period was the death of her mother, Amalia Knabs, in early 2024. Amalia had been a constant presence in Melania's life, providing support and guidance from the early days of her modeling career to her time as First Lady. Her passing marked the end of an era, leaving Melania visibly shaken. At the funeral, held in Slovenia, Melania delivered a heartfelt eulogy, reflecting on her mother's enduring influence. "She was my anchor," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "Her strength and love gave me the foundation to navigate this journey." The loss of her mother also served as a reminder of Melania's roots, which she had carefully balanced with her new identity as a Trump. Despite the fame and fortune that had come with her marriage, she had maintained a connection to her Slovenian heritage, often returning to her home country for private visits. In the wake of her mother's death, those ties seemed even more significant, grounding her in a world that often felt disconnected from the realities of her past. Health concerns also continued to linger. Melania's kidney procedure in 2018 had sparked a flurry of speculation about her well-being, and her extended absences from the public eye post-White House only added to the mystery. While official statements dismissed any serious health issues, her noticeably reduced public schedule suggested otherwise. Insiders described her as focused on self-care and family, prioritizing her health over public engagements. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's ongoing political ambitions presented another layer of complexity for Melania. As he toyed with the idea of running for office again, she found herself once more thrust into the political conversation. Sources close to the family indicated that Melania was hesitant about re-entering the fray, having already endured the challenges of the spotlight during his first term. Her reluctance was evident in her limited appearances at rallies and events, where she often appeared reserved and detached. Despite these challenges, Melania remained committed to protecting Barron from the turbulence surrounding their family. Now a teenager, Barron had largely been kept out of the public eye thanks in part to Melania's insistence on privacy. Her devotion to his well-being was unwavering, and those close to her noted that motherhood remained her primary focus. In many ways, her relationship with Barron offered her a sense of purpose and stability, even as other aspects of her life seemed uncertain. As Melania navigated this new chapter, her legacy as First Lady remained a topic of debate. Was she a reluctant participant in a chaotic administration, or was she complicit in its controversies? The truth, as always with Melania, was likely somewhere in between. Her actions often defied easy interpretation, leaving her admirers and critics to fill in the gaps with their own assumptions. In public, Melania projected an air of calm indifference, a stark contrast to the fervor that surrounded her husband. Privately, however, those who knew her described a woman grappling with the complexities of her role. The line between personal sacrifice and public duty had always been blurred in her life, and it was clear that this dynamic continued to shape her choices. The world's fascination with Melania Trump showed no signs of waning. Her enigmatic persona, coupled with her association with one of the most controversial figures in modern politics, ensured that she remained a subject of curiosity. Yet, as she retreated further from the spotlight, the details of her life became increasingly difficult to discern. Melania, it seemed, had mastered the art of keeping the world at arm's length, even as it sought to define her. For now, her story remains one of contrasts, between public perception and private reality, between strength and vulnerability, between a life she chose and the circumstances she inherited. Whether as a mother, a wife, or a former First Lady, Melania Trump continues to navigate a path uniquely her own, leaving behind a legacy that is as complex as it is compelling. As the years have passed, Melania Trump's life has settled into a quieter rhythm, but the shadow of her time in the White House remains ever present. For many, she is remembered as the enigmatic First Lady who rarely spoke, rarely acted, and yet somehow managed to captivate the public's imagination. For others, she remains a polarizing figure, forever tied to the controversies of her husband's presidency. The truth, as always, lies somewhere in the middle. At Mar-a-Lago, Melania maintains a life that blends luxury with relative privacy. Insiders describe her daily routine as focused on family, fitness, and maintaining the image she has so carefully curated over the years. While Donald continues to dominate headlines with his political aspirations, Melania's appearances are rare and calculated. She has learned, perhaps better than anyone, the value of silence in the face of controversy. For her, the less said, the better. Despite her retreat from the public eye, Melania's legacy remains a topic of discussion. Her tenure as First Lady was unlike any other, defined as much by what she didn't do as by what she did. Critics often point to her Be Best campaign as emblematic of her approach, a well-meaning initiative undermined by the contradictions of her husband's behavior. Yet her supporters argue that she brought elegance and restraint to a chaotic administration, embodying a sense of decorum that was often lacking elsewhere in the White House. The debate over her legacy extends beyond politics. Melania's position as a foreign-born First Lady places her in a unique historical context, but it also subjected her to xenophobic attacks that were unprecedented in modern times. From mocking her accent to criticizing her decisions, detractors often targeted her in ways that revealed more about their own biases than about her. Yet Melania rarely responded, choosing instead to let her silence speak volumes. For some, this stoicism was admirable. For others, it was infuriating. Her relationship with Donald Trump also remains a focal point of public curiosity. While rumors of discord and distance persist, those close to the couple suggest that their bond is more complex than it appears. Melania's loyalty to Donald is undeniable, even as she carves out her own space within their shared life. Whether this loyalty is born of love, pragmatism, or a mix of both is a question only she can answer, and one she is unlikely to ever address. One aspect of Melania's life that has garnered near-universal admiration is her role as a mother. Her dedication to Barron Trump has been evident from the beginning, and she continues to prioritize his well-being above all else. Now a young adult, Barron remains largely out of the public eye, thanks in no small part to Melania's efforts. For her, motherhood has always been a sanctuary, a role that allows her to focus on what truly matters amidst the chaos of her public life. As time goes on, Melania's story will likely be viewed through the lens of history, offering a more nuanced perspective on her life and legacy. For now, she remains a figure of contrasts. She is both deeply private and relentlessly scrutinized, a symbol of elegance and a lightning rod for criticism. Her life is a testament to the complexities of navigating fame, power, and personal identity in an era of unprecedented media attention. In many ways, Melania Trump embodies the paradoxes of modern public life. She is a woman who rose from modest beginnings to global prominence, yet her journey has often been overshadowed by the controversies of those around her. She is a figure of resilience and grace, yet her silence has often been mistaken for complicity. She is both a symbol of aspiration and a reminder of the sacrifices that come with it. For Melania, the path forward remains uncertain. Will she continue to live in the shadow of her husband's ambitions, or will she carve out a new chapter for herself? The answer, as with so much of her life, is likely to remain shrouded in mystery. What is clear, however, is that her story is far from over. As the world continues to watch, Melania Trump will remain what she has always been: an enigma, a survivor, and perhaps most of all, a woman navigating a life that defies easy definition. The tragedy of Melania Trump lies not in her circumstances, but in the way those circumstances have often overshadowed her humanity. Beneath the glamour, the controversies, and the scrutiny, there is a person, a woman shaped by her past, driven by her values, and defined by her resilience. Whether history views her kindly or critically, one thing is certain: Melania Trump's story is uniquely her own, and it is one that will continue to intrigue and divide for years to come. With that, we have reached the end of today's video. If you have come this far, be sure to check out other videos on the channel.